Say hello, everybody. Thank you for coming today for the Helpful Village release webinar of July 19th. Happy to see you all here. This is the usual agenda of our meeting. So we have a couple of news, very short, release notes and improvement ideas, and a little bit of discussion. For those that have probably noticed the background of my image, I am calling you from my mom's house in Spain. So I was traveling last week. I was a little disconnect on Tuesday, Wednesday, etc., but I made it safe. Yeah, for the reminders, we have a monthly Helpful Village release webinar. We're doing today the one for July. I'm suggesting we skip the one for August because a lot of people are going on vacation and there will be probably fewer activity. We will obviously keep working, and even if I'm in Spain right now, we will be, actively working, in particular for tickets and support, and all of those things keep working. But we will probably do a little bit less of development this upcoming month. The other reminder is that we have a webinar, a Q&A webinar next week that we do with the Village to Village Network. The webinar we're having next week on July 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern is a different format. It's about questions and answers. So today is mostly us speaking about new changes and improvements to the software. And next week is mostly you asking the questions and we trying to answer them. For next week's webinar, we invite you to send your questions ahead of time to Gary Frankel, who is the national coordinator. Basically, he collects the questions from different villages and he organizes them in a way that makes sense for the webinar. Basically, we try to put the easier questions first for those villages that are newer or have less experience with the software, and then the expert questions by the end of the webinar next week. So if you can contact Gary at that email address, which is hvusers@v2vnetwork.org. And then we always synchronize and coordinate with Gary. He sends us the questions ahead of time so that we can start thinking about the answers. You can, if you don't have any questions, it doesn't matter. You can also participate in the webinar because you can obviously always learn from the questions other villages have. This is also a quick reminder. There are resources that we make available for free. There is a training docs guide. It's essentially a Word document, which is a table of contents of all our training documents, and the Help Center that you can find under under support.helpfulvillage.com. That is an interactive platform where you can find all the documents and also ask your questions. Basically, a robot is gonna try to find the right training document for you. We invite you also to separate your inquiries to us. When you have a bug, please submit them through support.helpfulvillage.com. That creates a ticket, and we focus on bugs first to fix them. Sometimes it's not a bug, sometimes it's an improvement idea. You can always submit them under ask.helpfulvillage.com. So nothing new here, it's just reminders. And now we're done with the reminders. We're gonna start with the release notes. So this is a discussion of new improvements and changes we have added to the platform, to the code base. It's not visible on your websites yet. So our customers see these changes this weekend. So we announced them today, but we give you a little bit of time to prepare and think about those. And then they arrive to your server this weekend, and you can ask all the questions you want on next week's Q&A webinar. So this is also as usual. First item on this list is not really an improvement we did, but it's something we need to discuss about. And this is threads.net. I saw that Colin posted an interesting post on Slack about this. So and I thought we needed to discuss this for a minute. So threads, maybe you have seen on the media or something, and if you haven't, we're gonna just describe it very quickly. It's essentially Meta, who's the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, just launched a product that is called Threads, that is Twitter lookalike, because Twitter has been under some controversy, and basically Facebook is making a move on a new product. Essentially, it's a new social media item somehow connected to Instagram, and I wanted to share with you a recommendation. You don't need to use it because, you know, I know you villages are busy already with other, you know, Facebook or Twitter, and I'm not inviting you to do 100 different social networks. We created our handle. So there is a helpful village page on Threads that we created from our Instagram account. We haven't posted yet. We should at least do one post. But even if you're not planning to post, our suggestion is that you go in there from your Instagram account of your village, if you have one, and you create your Threads account also. Even if you're not posting, I think it's important that you go there, create it so that nobody takes it for you and tries to impersonate your village, you know, pretending to be you and speaking in your name. That's the reason why we were very quick to do it too. Like I wanted to have threads.net/helpful village. So now we own it. Even if we don't post, well, we own it. We can always post later. But I'm sure that nobody's going to take it away from us. So again, our recommendation, you don't need to post. I'm not adding some extra work for you, but I would recommend taking 5 minutes to take ownership of basically a handle for your village. And we know of several villages that have created it and then they're posting. So you can choose if you want to post or not post, but I definitely recommend you create and take ownership of your page. Now we are discussing helpful village improvements. This is a new improvement. We briefly discussed this one with Carol Cookson from Portland. I don't know if Carol is on the call. I didn't see her because we have many participants and I didn't see everybody. But this is about the check-in module. So the check-in module allows people to allows villages to organize a buddy system where people can call a member and ask them how they're doing, basically. So it's a wellness check or a phone reassurance program if you want. When we first designed it, we thought about, well, each member would have one buddy that is following up with them, but actually there's no need to limit that. Carol's question was if we can have more than one volunteer checking on one member, which we can. But then there was a privacy issue because basically what we were doing before is that the comment of the check-in that had been done before, for example, here, Christina had checked on Everett and she wrote, he's happy. Or Christina checked also on Latoria Christensen, who's another member, and she wrote she needs some meds from the pharmacy and stuff like that. These notes, I was a little compelled because sometimes maybe those notes are personal between the volunteer and the member, and maybe it's not fair to share it among all the buddies. So we took a step by which now you can see, all buddies can see the last check-in for a member. So they will see, for example, if I'm also checking in with Everett, when I log in, I see my check-in duty with Everett, and I will see the date the last check-in was made. I will see how he felt the last time he checked in. If it was me who did this check-in, I will see my notes. If I'm an admin, I will also see my notes. If I'm a different buddy, I will not see the comments because I fear that there might be some personal information there. And then basically what we see is this sentence down here. We will say, well, the most recent check-in was performed by the person who did it, right? In this case, let's say John Smith. And then, so basically the other buddy will know that when was the last check-in made, how was the person feeling, and then who is the last person that did it. So this is a change where basically we're sharing more information among buddies, but still trying to preserve the privacy of the interpersonal conversation of what was specifically said. Carol, I don't know if Carol is usually on the call. Damn, okay, let me see. Sorry, my arrows were not going the right way. Carol, if you're on the call or if you're not on the call, it doesn't matter. I'll get back to you to see how this fits your needs, because I know Portland was looking at this, and this is a step in the right direction, and I'm hoping it's good for them. This is a different improvement. This is improvement number 572, and I know it's a tricky number because that one we have several times in the improvement ideas document, but it's an improvement that was requested by Peter Cass, that if I remember, I think it's with the village in the Berkshires. And basically the vendor categories, basically, I mean, not all villages are doing this, but you can have a module where basically you're recommending vendors and professional vendors to your members. That's something that happens under the menu item that is called members, and then there is recommended providers or vendors or something like that. And then basically you have all these categories and subcategories, basically assistant with personal care, assistant with technology, classes attend. So you can classify your providers under different categories and subcategories. And we added the functionality that is marked in red on that box. Is basically that now members can also search a provider or a category, right? So they don't need to browse through the hierarchy anymore. If they don't want to, they can just search, right? If I'm looking for a plumber, I type plumber, search, and that will take me directly to that vendor category. So this is a feature that was an admin feature before, but Peter thought, I think rightfully, so that we can make that feature available to your members too. So we did. Okay, I have no picture for this one, because this one is an improvement we made for reports, and this is an improvement idea number 498 that was submitted through the focus group, and it's actually Sheila Sullivan from SJ Nest. I think it's North Carolina, but can be South Carolina. And basically, we added to the service request report, the spreadsheet file, we added a column with the person who initially created it. So this is an information we were already capturing, right? Sometimes the service request is created by an admin because they received a phone call or they received an email from a member. And some villages can set up the system so that members can themselves create the service requests. And basically, this improvement will allow them to see the percentage of requests that are created by admins compared to the percentage of requests that are created by the members themselves. So this is an extra column in that spreadsheet file. This is a comment, more kind of a bug that we had this last month, but I need to talk about this. Essentially, there is an HTML editor that we use for the web pages. But we use this HTML editor for the email messenger, for example. Is what allows you to basically have this WYSIWYG editor, which is kind of, you can change the colors, the names, the size of your fonts, and all of that. That's the HTML editor, which is a library that we use, that we didn't, I mean, it's a reusable library. With the new version of this library, we needed to do a small coding change on Helpful Village, the way we load that editor. And we have done it. I know some of the villages reported a bug when you were on the email messenger and then you create a new, you click on the button new email, it was not showing. It was not loading at first. So we fixed that one, but we use the HTML editor in different places. For example, in Village Talk, it's used in the website editor and stuff like that in many other places. So we try to fix in as many places as possible, but maybe we forgot one. If we forgot one place, well, you should know that you can always, while you're on that page, you can click the refresh button on your browser, and that it will, it will load the HTML editor. Then obviously we don't want you to refresh pages, so it's probably because we forgot one spot. So if we forgot one spot, please submit a Helpful Village ticket letting us know the specific page where we may have forgotten to add this fix for the HTML editor. It can be, I don't know, let's say the prospects module, where basically maybe we're using it there too, and maybe we forgot or something. If we forgot one place, please let us know. Just hit the refresh button, it will work while we add this fix. And then when you send us the place where it is missing, we will add it very quickly. So let's move on to the next one. Ooh, what happened here? This kit, an improvement. So we have an improvement here, which is a printable calendar of events. So we added a button actually to the calendar of events that I'll show you in a minute, because I can do a live demo. And then when you hit on that button, you have the possibility to open kind of the print conversation dialog, basically, where you can basically just hit print and your printer is going to show all the events that are taking place this month. So yeah, so this is something that was requested. I know Carquines Village had requested it, and I think Oklahoma City had requested this too. So I hope you like it. I suggest we move on now to the demo so I can show you a few of these things. Let me see, I need to get out of the browser. Okay, and then I'll start here. I start with the calendar of events because that one is easy to show, and I remember you go here, if you go to events, you go to events calendar. it loads your calendar of events. You can have the list of events, as you know, which is kind of the chronological list, or the calendar view, which is this calendar view. And the request we had received is to add the printable version of this calendar, and this now comes through, well, I thought these buttons were reorganized, but basically we added a print calendar button here. And then when you hit on that print calendar, it opens the dialog, the print dialog conversation of your browser, and then you can hit print, and then your printer will show basically all the events of the month. Obviously, it's hard to make it perfect depending on the number of events you have, the number of days you have, but at least you can print it. So yeah, give it a try. Just let me know what you think about this print capability, if it's something that fits your needs or not. I know Jeannie asked for it on Karkines. So that is one, but I canceled it because I'm not gonna use my printer at this time. Okay, let me just sneak back. Oh, the vendor categories is something you will find here under members. And then you have here preferred vendors. It's a module that is optional, so some villages have deactivated it if they are not, maintaining the list of professional providers. But some villages are offering the list of preferred providers. And then, if you look here, you have different categories. And then here, for example, you have Made in Local, which is a provider that has been screened by the village, that has 2 reviews by members of this village saying that they appreciate this provider or not, etc. So that is that way. And then basically what we changed that is new is that this capability to search for the provider here without browsing through the things, right? So now if I type Made in Local here, it found the provider immediately. I don't need to browse through the categories and subcategories. I will not show this survey, this improvement, which is about the check-ins, because, well, let me show you. Sorry, it's here. The improvement about the check-in is something that you will find here. Service request check-ins. So this is a premium module also, so it's possible that your village doesn't have this check-ins module activated, but it's a module that I really like. And then here, basically, you do the pairings between a volunteer that is checking on a member. So this particular volunteer is checking on 4 different members. These are different volunteers checking on 4 different members, and they're saying how they're feeling and some notes. So this existed before. The change that we did is that now if you have several people following Juliet, basically the other body will be able to see that Kenneth, that the other body had checked in with the person. They will see how the person is feeling and when the last check-in was done. So for example, in the case of Portland, right, they wanted to use this as an emergency preparedness case. So if there is, I don't know what happens in Portland, but let's say it's an earthquake or something, they could have other volunteers calling their members, etc. And then if you see that somebody else called this member, etc., you don't need to call them because somebody else did. So it doesn't matter. There is another improvement that I don't know what happened, and I think I skipped with my buttons. Is that we added, this is another feature, another improvement I didn't show before because I think, I just click on the button. I think I double click or skip this slide. But we added the possibility on the service requests, so the volunteer module, right, to split a service request that has multiple trips, right? So if you create a service request for this member from 9 to 11:45, let's say that she's going to a doctor appointment, you remember that you have the possibility to, it will create the service request by default from the member's home to the destination you entered when you were creating the service request, but admins had the possibility to add additional trips because maybe the person is going to the doctor and then he's also going to the pharmacy and then he's going back home. So you can have multiple legs or multiple trips to the service request. So that we did not change. You already could have several trips in a service request. What we added is the possibility to split the service request. So if you have a volunteer that looks at the service request, well, we cannot do both right because for whatever reason, he needs to do something else at the Empire State Building and he cannot take it. He can take half of the service request. There is now a split button on that trip. So if they split, basically what will happen is that the service request will be, and obviously the split button only shows if there is more than one trip, because otherwise there's nothing to split. But if you click on split, basically what happens is it creates a clone of the service request that will contain this ride and that this volunteer wants to take, and then it will remove this ride from the original service request. So essentially, I'm a volunteer, can only do half of it. If I click split, it will create a second service request that only contains this ride, and then I can assign myself saying that I'm gonna do it, and the other service request that was initially there will not have this ride anymore, but will remain open for somebody else to fulfill. So it's basically a way to have, your volunteers be able to basically do part of a service request when it's transportation. So we can only split transportation service requests. And I can show you this in the demo. So if we go under volunteer service requests, I created one service request down here. The second page, that is here. So we have a ride for Elda, my mom. She's going to a doctor appointment. I can click on the service request as usual. And this service request, we're showing that it has two rides from her home address to the Empire State Building from this time to this time. And then once that is done, she needs to have a second ride going from the Empire State Building to the Brooklyn Bridge. So this is a service request with more than one trip. And we show two maps, a map per trip. So basically this from her home address to the Empire State Building. The second ride is from the Empire State Building to the Brooklyn Bridge that is here. So it's good. Now, the thing that I can do now is that I can, as a volunteer, I can down here, if I'm a driver, if I hit I can do it, I volunteer. It's okay. Now the whole service request is for me, right? So I will do both rides, but maybe I cannot do both rides because I'm busy, as I said before. Now I have the possibility to click on the split button. And if I click on split, the service request was splitted. And now you see, so there is only the first part of the service request. And now I can volunteer for this one. I say I can do it, I volunteer. And that's it. I match now with the service request that has only the first half of the service request. Now, if I go back to the list of volunteer opportunities, I see that I'm assigned to this one. That's actually the one that I took for the doctor appointment service request for the first half of the ride. You see, so this one is matched and it's assigned to me. And then if I go down in the map in the list of service requests and I go to the second page, I see the original service request that was here, right? So it's still open, but the service request is interesting here. Yeah, the service request only contains this part here from the Empire State Building to the Brooklyn Bridge. And now I can, a different person can say, I can do it, I volunteer. I can see that this one here, service request, has been split to a separate service request. So I don't need to do this. So maybe, yeah, so basically this, so we still keep the information that was taken away from this service request. Somebody else is doing it. Now the service request only contains the second ride. Okay, so that's what this feature is about. Let me see if there was another one that is worth showing. I showed the events, and that's pretty much all the service requests I wanted to show, I think, because the other one is a report, but I'm not going to produce a report to show you an additional column. Maybe what I can do here is come back to slideshow mode. And I wanted to show you basically the new current priorities. So basically, these are the things that we'll be working on for not this monthly release, but the monthly release that comes after it. We had an issue with one village that archived a user that had monthly active payments. So you can set up monthly payments for a member, right? So they pay for membership monthly. That is good. But basically, when we are archiving a user, we're allowing villages to archive a person if they have an monthly payment. But that's weird, because then we charge the credit card number, but we cannot find that person because they have been archived. So now what we're going to do is that you're trying to archive a user that has monthly payments. We will show you a message saying, well, this person has, monthly payments. Please stop them before you archive them, and then once they are stopped, you can archive them. So that is something that we need to do. And we also received an interesting request from a village that wanted to have a report about member activity report. So basically, as a way to see which one of the members are most active or least active, and maybe if you have members that are not very active with your village, maybe you want to get back to them and basically encourage them to participate more or to get services or participate in events and stuff like that. So we like this idea. Actually, it's when I responded to this ticket, because it was a question at first if we were already doing this. And the interesting thing is that we're already doing something similar to this with volunteers, because it's a similar kind of task where basically a village wants to see if who are the most active volunteers or the least active volunteers, to reactivate some of those volunteers or thank some of the most active volunteers. So we already do it for volunteers, and we should be doing the same for members. It's kind of funny that we didn't think. We thought about volunteers, we didn't think about members. So this is definitely something that we have on our priorities. The third priority that we have here is the donations page. So I received a few comments from different villages about the donations page, and not everything is clear to me. For one of the villages, I remember I looked at one case with Houston, Jersey, to be more precise, and actually Stripe did a little modification where they added a new extra feature where you can enter your email address, etc. So for something Stripe wants to do that is that messed up the process. So I'm just so basically I'll be very, this is also highest priorities. Actually, this donations page, I understand, is whatever change that Stripe did. If we need to do something about it, or I know we can deactivate that feature. If you are with a village and you have had any feedback from your donors or something like that, or when you tried it yourself and you want to make a comment, let us know, because we'll be working on this very, very soon. And those are the ideas that we have. But I know that we have some time today for a discussion. So I would open up now. So first, if you have any questions about any of the features that we're announcing or any comments, these improvements are not on the server yet. For example, the split one is one I would anticipate, maybe how does that impact your changes? If you can still give us your feedback, and we can still adjust or add some settings for some of those features before they go into the server this weekend. And I'll pause here for a while, so we can do two things. If you have any questions, I would start with questions, and if we don't have questions, we can also discuss a little bit about improvement ideas that you want to submit for last month, and then we can we can add more, prioritize those improvement ideas in the bucket list. So do we have questions first of all? We have one question. That's great. I think this must be Gary, I would suspect.
Emmanuel.
Hey.
The split trip, is that something we could utilize to say we have two people that need to go to change a light bulb or something like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Now, so we obviously have different. I know we have that other improvement idea, which is a service request that would have multiple volunteers, right? So this is not it. So this is because that would be one service request with multiple people. But here is specifically about transportation. When there are different rides, right? You have different legs. So what we're doing is we're splitting service requests. So instead of having one, we will have two service requests. Each one of them can have at most one volunteer. So we're still on mono-volunteer model. But now you can split if you think that if one of your volunteers can do half of the work, you see, of the transportation.
Okay.
So yeah. Cool, perfect. We have another question. I think it's Leslie coming in.
Hi, for the split requests, can you do that on round trips? Like if you just set up a round trip ride, can you split that or not?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this because I'm always challenged. What I would do, right? First, the thing that I was thinking to myself is that maybe round trip we should create 2 trips by default. You see what I'm saying? When you enter it, rather than having 1 trip on that list, like if you hit that checkbox button, well, then you have 2 trips, you know, from the home address to the destination, from the destination address to the home. And then from that moment, then you can split because you already have a service request with 2. So at this time, we're not doing it. This thing about, you know, round trip with having 2 different legs is something I didn't do, but it's actually great that you asked the question, because it mostly for me, it's like, well, that changes a little bit how people were used to do this. I think we should, but if someone has a reservation or a reason not to do it, maybe, you know, yeah.
The reason I ask is because most round trips are short, but there's the occasional round trip for, like, I don't know, chemotherapy or something like that, where it's quite long. And then we would be interested in splitting it, but for shorter visits, probably not.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously you can always do it by hand right now. You see what I'm saying? It's like you can go in and add the home to destination. And then, you know, if they're going to stay on that place for a long time, you can manually create the second trip. What I was thinking is that maybe, so yes, so you could do that already manually. And my question was, maybe we should be doing this automatically already with, you know, creating 2 trips when you check that box. And I think it's something we would do. I will add it to the list of improvements. But it's typically the kind of thing where I'm thinking, well, maybe there is a drawback I have not thought of. So maybe it's good that we put it out there. If someone sees a disadvantage of doing so, please let us know, because we would move ahead if we don't hear from anybody about that. If we don't hear any good reason for not doing it, we're going to do it for next month.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Do we have other questions? And if it's not questions, we can discuss about, well, let's give it 2 minutes for questions first. And then I wanted to say, beyond questions, that there are some names that I'm familiar with that I have seen before in these webinars. So it's always good to see you. And there is also some people on the call that I have not seen before. So for those that are newcomers, you know, if you want, please don't hesitate to let us know about your questions, what brought you here. You're
Hi, Manuel.
Mm-hmm.
This is Holly from Foster City Village. My question was with regards to printing the calendar, which we love. Mm-hmm. Can anybody do that? Could a member come in and print that for their own use?
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yes. So I just looked at it, I tested it, and, you know, basically this print seems to be okay. And we added that button, print calendar, open to everybody, even anonymous people that are not logged in. So it's, you know, the visibility of the events, they depend, you know, because you can generate some event categories that are only visible to members and stuff like that. But the print button is there for everybody, but they will print, you know, the events that are visible to them. So.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I saw that my buttons were messed up because I was focusing on the print. So I will organize my buttons so that they look a little better at the bottom. Well, they would look good for a member, but just for admins, I need to just reorganize the button. But that will be done before I deploy. Perfect. Do we have any more questions? If we don't have more questions, I would still, well, first, feel free to go if you need to go somewhere, but I'm also happy to stay for a little more if you want to speak about an improvement idea that is not on our short-term planning. You know, we just showed the 4 that are most important for us at this time. But if there is something that you know that is really important to you and you want to talk about it and suggest and put it in front of the group, this is a good time to do it. So just raise your hand electronically and you can come in, try to defend one of your ideas, and I can comment on it, you know, if it's something we can do, or if there is some reason not to do it, or if some other people in the group doesn't like it. But this is your moment to influence the improvement ideas calendar schedule. Leslie comes back. So Leslie, you're in.
We would really like to be able to, with the email messenger, email people of a certain membership type. So we have sort of supporting members, and then we have full members, and sometimes we only want to email one group of them.
Cool. Yeah, I see that. I have great. So this is exactly what we're asking for, something that is important for you that is not available at this time. So you can definitely have a mailing list of all active members, but I understand what you're saying. Well, no, just this sub-classification of this definitely can be done.
We started with a tagged list, but it was just too hard to keep it updated.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the kind of stuff, I mean, it's the kind of stuff that is, I don't see a drawback to do it. It's just putting some time to do it. We will probably do a tag, I think, on MailChimp, but that is automatic so that you don't need to, I'm thinking what you were doing is manually managing that tag list.
Yeah.
But we already have that information for all those people, so we could automatically add the tag depending on the membership type you have. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take note of that one. I mean, I need to take note of everything before I forget. Does anyone want to do the same and basically, as Leslie did, just let us know about something that would be useful to your village and that you think we should be working on soon? Oh yeah, sorry, I was typing, so I didn't see the hand being raised. I mean, the screen says Len, but I'm pretty sure it's not Len.
Hi, this is Pam
Yeah.
Troutman at Waterfront Village. I can't figure out how to get the name changed. So
no, actually,
yeah.
it's my bad. I mean, it was disabled. Now it's enabled. So if you want to do it, you can, but you don't have to.
Okay. Well, no, you're right. I'm not Len. I'm Pam. And one suggestion that I had is we're working on building the list of vendors that we keep track of in the system.
Yes.
But right now, when you go into the vendor screen,
Yes.
takes you to the list of all of the different vendors,
Yeah.
and then you can scroll to the bottom, and then you can go to the categories. I would love to go be directed first to a screen that listed all the categories.
Yes.
And then go click on a specific category and see the list. For some reason, the way that I use that part of the website feels sort of flipped. Usually I want to go to the category and then see the choices, not the individual choices. So I don't know if that might be a hard thing, or maybe
well, actually, I think it's done, but I know what you're saying. I'm gonna share my screen and let me double check that we.
Okay, yes, and maybe it's just a skill deficit on my part.
No. I think I understand why you're saying that. So basically, this is the demo site again, right? And basically here you have admin, and what I believe you're doing is that you go into services management, vendors management, and then you go here, and then here you have a list of preferred providers, and then you have two different lists that admin can see. The preferred providers that have been screened, so basically that are visible to your members, are up here, and you can start working on other providers that are not visible to your members yet. Maybe one of your members recommended, or maybe you're checking them out or something. You don't want them to be visible, so you would have them in the second list. So these are two lists with the provider and stuff like that. Basically, your members will not see this list because this is under the admin category, right? But if you go under members, this is how they were gonna do it, but you can do it too, basically, right? So I think what you're asking, you can do it through this part here. You can go into preferred vendors yourself, even if you're not a member. You see what I'm saying? If you're an admin, you can down here, and then here you have the categories of vendors.
Oh.
And then you have this button here. When we say this kind of admin in square brackets like this is a button that only admin can see, because you can enter this category, right? Imagine that this category, assistance with technology, you don't want it that way. That brings you into the possibility to add new subcategories or edit the name of this category, etc. So you can work on the categories from here. But I understand what you're saying, because obviously, I mean, you're bringing a very valid point. Like, you were working on the admin side first, right? And then, and then I'm telling you something that is a little backwards, which is, well, go under here, which is how your people will see it, and then from here you can manage the categories, and then through the categories, if you click on them, it will show you the different providers per category. So I think what you wanted is already here, but obviously you had the expectation to find it here.
Find it there, right? We actually don't have any of our vendors visible to our members. Christina took that choice off of the member tab for us.
Yes.
Because we always like to speak with each member. about their service needs.
Makes sense.
And so
Makes
we've
sense.
sort of taken that option away from our members. So that's why
That's totally valid. Yeah.
I can't, even if I go in under that member tab, I can't see it the way that you're suggesting.
No, absolutely. I absolutely see your point. So what,
yeah, it's
we can definitely fix this for you. So what I'm because you cannot do it. For us, it's just adding the link here. So I think we're gonna come here under services management and either vendors management. We can do two things. Because I can change that link and then from here just show you the categories. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't
do you
see why this would be more useful when it's disorganized or not categorized.
Right, it feels disorganized.
Yeah. So maybe we
the button at the bottom that said, if you scroll down on your screen, that preferred vendor categories, that screen, if I could see that first, then I would know, like when someone is looking for a list of physical therapists, I could go here and figure out what are my categories, and then I could go to that list. But right now I just go to physical therapy providers that are scattered all up and down. So it's just the order.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion.
No, totally. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, this is a conversation that is more than you and me. So any other person on the call can express their opinion. But I'm with you. I think here we created the list, kind of such a mixed list of everyone that is just organized alphabetically. I don't know. So I'm thinking, I'm with you. Basically saying rather than showing this page here, we should probably show either this page or the page that is down here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my first choice. But again, you have to take everybody's preference on that.
Yeah. No, but I mean, yes, definitely everyone can speak now, but for me it makes sense. I also am with you that, I mean, I see your expectation. I can see how that expectation can be some expectation from other people. So let me write that down on my list, and then
thank you.
That is very easy for us to add, because it's just, rather than linking to this page, we're going to be linking to this other page that is easier for you to use. So that's a great point.
Thank you. And I've changed my name now.
Perfect. Thank you, Pam. I think I'm taking notes of this change, but I think we can already start taking the next question. I think it's Margie. Margie, you had some trouble joining, leaving the waiting room. I saw you joining for a while.
Yeah, I did. I kept having trouble. The Zoom kept not responding or something.
Yeah.
But here I am.
You made it. That's great.
So the one we still want is one we reported several years ago. We would like to have a mailing address and a physical address.
Yeah.
Because people, right, but we need to have a way of use this address for mailings or somehow.
No, I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, so because right now when we do a mailing, we have to go through the whole list of members, find anybody who's got a PO box and
yes. No, I agree with you. And first, obviously sometimes a village mentions something that I know about, and I want to give context for those that don't know exactly what we're talking about. So when you go to actually, let me share my screen again, and then let's do it. Let me finish taking notes for Waterfront, change vendors management link under admin, and then that's enough. I'm going to share my screen so that we can see what we're saying with Margie here. So here, share. Here, so if we search a person like myself, and then you take any person, actually, it can be a member, a volunteer, can be anything. But when you go to address, you have, by default, it's going to show the address you can have here. But you can add an alternative address. So you already have an alternative address, which today is basically the mailing address most of the time. And you can edit the second address. Street, city, state, zip code, whatever. You can add some comments here. Basically here, if you want to say that this is a mailing address or something, or some other note, like here is often during the weekend, something like that. You can swap them. So basically, if you can click on this button, this is going to become the home address, and the other one's going to become the mailing address. If you needed to, change them, you can delete them if this one is no longer used, etc. And now, basically, what I understand, Margie, let me make sure that I understand what you're saying. Is that we already have the two addresses for a person, right? So this one and that one. One thing that I know I wanted to do that is not done yet, and it's maybe what you're saying, is that if you go to people management and you go groups, And then under groups, you go, for example, under active members. Can be any group actually. But when you're in a group, you can scroll down. If you have a long list like this one, you don't need to scroll down. This link here is a shortcut to the bottom, and it takes you to the bottom of the same page. And then at the bottom of the same page, you have a couple of buttons. One of this one is this one, mailing labels, which so far, I mean, I can click on it actually. So actually, you will not see it. It's gonna open on Acrobat, which is a different window. Let me share a different window. What it did is open this. It opened up this PDF document, which actually is spaced in a given way, which makes it that if you purchase some of these mailing label stickers, you can put them in the printer, and then you can basically print this PDF document. It's gonna give you all the stickers with the addresses of everyone in this group, right? Now, the addresses that are being shown for these members, obviously when it's showing nothing, it's because this is demo and we don't have the addresses of these fake people. But when there is an address, we put this one. But the address that we're adding under here is actually the home address, because the alternative address is something that we added later. So one thing that I know we can easily do is saying, well, here instead of using, I mean, if there is an alternative address, we should use the alternative address in this label thing. But Margie, maybe you were thinking about a different thing.
Well, we can't use the mailing labels because then the ones who have an alternate address, that alternate address, which is the mailing address, doesn't work. So what we do is we do a report of active members. It comes out as a spreadsheet, and then we have to go down and say, okay, this one has an alternate address, copy and paste.
Yes, but I think I didn't speak very clearly. What I was saying is that I know you cannot, because the mailing labels are using the home address always, right? But my question was, should have been, if there is an alternative address for this person and we use it in the mailing labels PDF document, does that solve your problem? Or is there anything else that you were thinking of? Is that what you were thinking about, basically? Because that we can easily do. We can use the alternative address. If this person has alternative address, we would rather use that one in this document, is what I'm saying. But my question is this what you wanted, or is it something else that I haven't not thought of?
If that were the case, if the mailing label used the alternate address, then yes, we would like that.
Okay,
because it's much easier to print the labels.
Yes, absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be very helpful.
Yeah. So that one I can tell you, I'm gonna be crazy about this, because that is simple, and I can have that one in this month's release, because it's something that is simple. We had promised in the past, so we can have it in this July release, so we can have it by the weekend. It's just an if this person has this other alternative address, then use it. So for everybody in this call, you can anticipate having this feature of the alternative address being used in the mailing labels from this month.
That would be great. Because we also have people whose alternate address is their daughter, for example.
And then what does that matter? What I mean is that
that's good.
Oh, that is good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because what I have also in the back of my mind is also saying, well, it's typically this feature where, for me now, it kind of makes sense when I'm speaking with you, because it's exactly the scenario that you need. But I'm thinking maybe another village is using the alternative address in a different way, and they don't want to use that address in their mailing.
Yes, we do that.
Okay,
so alternative address, we have something totally different.
Okay,
because we need a way to save something.
Wait, Leslie, because maybe let me make my note. But Leslie, I would like to hear from you how you're using the alternative address, which is not this way. What is the other way in which you use it?
Okay. So we have, when we do our end of year financial fundraising campaign, we have board members send a message to a certain group of people, and they have their people that we want to connect the board members with that group of people. So the way we've done it is on the alternative address, we write the board list is this person, so we can connect them that way.
So in the
because we couldn't figure out
the name of the board member that is going to call them. What a hacker!
Yes. Yeah, well, we
Manuel,
couldn't
how-
figure out another place to put it.
No, it was a compliment. It was a compliment in my mouth. It's like he's he's great. I think he's creative thinking about how to do it.
So Manuel, isn't it easy to just have a checkbox for mailing address? And just say, check whichever of the two addresses to use for mailing. And then link that with, Susan? Susan's shaking her head, but she's muted.
Wait, where's Susan? Oh,
Well,
Susan.
no, I was just saying, I was just thinking, no, that you'd only want to have the mailing address checkbox on the alternative address. Meaning that the main address is the one, if you're going to go and do services for that person or pick them up, that's where you're going. And then you have alternative addresses, which can be different things. And I was going to say, we have people that have summer homes and things like that. And we sometimes have that address, but we don't want to mail there. So that on the alternative address, there should be a checkbox that says, is this the mailing address?
Yes.
Great. That's
Perfect.
right.
That's great. So I love this. So basically, this is great because I love this conversation because it's a feature that is easy to understand to everybody, but it also shows how sometimes we have this conversation with one village. It all makes sense, but I'm scared of saying, wow, maybe it's going to break somebody else's, Susan's operation or Leslie's. And then, you see how sometimes we need to look at the same problem from different perspectives. So I think we reached a good solution, which is I'm going to take note of before I forget. But it's basically add a checkbox to the alt address to say if should be used for mailing. And if it should be used for mailing, I'm going to use that one in the PDF mailing labels. And I can still do this for this month's release before the weekend. So because it's just a checkbox and an if statement on the PDF document. So that's cool. That was fun. Great.
That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Susan, you still have your hand up. So I don't know.
I have a small question, which I just keep forgetting to send into you. And I saw that it's not just true for me because it happened when you did an example one time. MailChimp is not a mailing list. It's a tag. So if you're doing email messenger and you want to send to the whole list, you have to go onto tags and you have to go down to MailChimp. And it should be a mailing list.
Yeah, let me see. Actually, but it's not a tag, actually, typically.
Well, or it's an interest group, or it's an interest group.
It's not actually when the MailChimp is a weird MailChimp checkbox. But basically, if you check on MailChimp, it's yes or no, is this person on MailChimp? So, and then when you're sending the message out, if you send to everybody, this is not even a tag, it's just everyone in that group.
Well,
but if you have a tag that is called MailChimp, you should not have it. So if you have that, check on your own MailChimp account. And then if you have a tag that is called MailChimp, let us know because we will remove it. It's like for us, it is not.
We have no mailing list, which is
that's good. But actually, the thing is that listen. So basically, what happened? I know it's confusing. Basically, we have a checkbox on the person, right, which is called MailChimp, and I don't know where it's on the groups. We could check, but it's in mailing lists. I know it's in tags, maybe.
It's in tags.
It's in tags. Okay, let me share. Let me share my screen. So basically, we're here: admin, people management, groups, right? And then when you go to groups, you have groups of people in different things. So these are your groups for volunteer services, for village builders. This is for tags. This is for mailing lists, etc. Now the tags are visible here. If you search a person on the general tab, you have here these tags. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So, and then basically one of them, but then you have some of the checkboxes here. I know they are listed under tags because they needed to be somewhere, but it's kind of special tags if you want. So basically here, if you have this group, great friends group, etc., it's going to create a tag on MailChimp. When you click on this one, it does not create a tag on MailChimp. this one is one that is special, saying, okay, should this person be added to the general audience on MailChimp? And the audience, basically, if you check this box, it adds it to the audience. And the audience on MailChimp, when you log in, you can have more than one audience, right? Because some villages do. The audience that we use is the audience that is called Helpful Village on your MailChimp account. And then if you check this box, it's not going to be a tag on MailChimp. It's just adding a person to that audience or not. So, Susan, I think it's more a clarification than anything else, but
well, go back to the mailing list. What if I want to send to everybody that's in our MailChimp?
Yeah, so you're saying go to the, obviously you can send from MailChimp, right? But you can also send from here, and if you want to send an email.
Well, no, so if I go into the mail messenger and I look under mailing lists, I won't find one. I'll find active members, or I'll find not tagged people. Go back to mailing lists.
Mailing lists, yes. So here you don't have it. Yeah.
You don't have it. And that I want it to be there.
It's a great point, but it's
because we send out to everybody on our list twice a month.
No, it's a great point, but it's just a user interface thing. I think that same thing that you're doing, you can achieve the same thing with here tags and
yes, of course you can. Yes.
But because the thing is, like, if we move it to, basically the thing that I liked is that when you have it here, sorry, search wrong name. The thing is, like, if we have it as a tag, we can have it here. You see what I'm saying? And then I want to have it here because sometimes people need to check on this person if this is checked or unchecked and stuff like that. So if we moved it, then we cannot have this management here. So I'm not ready to move it as yet.
Oh, I see.
So I fully agree with you, Susan, that is a little bit kind of, could expect it under MailChimp, under mailing lists, maybe.
Mailing lists.
But maybe just for now, I don't see a better way to do this rather than just remembering that you need to go to tag groups and then MailChimp if you want to send to everyone in there. Excellent question. We finished our session today with a very advanced question that is not only technical but also philosophical. That was beautiful.
It's just an irritation, and I'm trying to teach other people to send out emails and to try to find them, tell them how to find MailChimp.
You're right.
Is difficult.
Susan, let me tell you that your philosophical question, I have not finished thinking about it. It's going to bug me for the rest of the night. Because you're right. I can see the validity of your point, right? It's like a situation where it's not obvious because what I said about the checkboxes here on the profile, I need to have all of them here because we want
I don't mind having them there. I'm glad to have them there.
Yeah, but then on the other side, maybe I can find a way where basically I can add a new recipient in the mailing list where we say, well, everybody that we have on MailChimp or something like that. I'll give it some thought. It's not an obvious one, but it's a good one. Okay, well, perfect. So with all this discussion, thank you very much for the conversation. It was awesome. Actually, there's one new improvement that I need to do before this weekend, but it's going to be fun. We're all meeting next week on Wednesday. So if you have your questions, don't forget to send them to Gary ahead of time. And then we will all meet again Wednesday next week. Perfect. Everybody, thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Have fun. Enjoy the summer. Stay fresh. Thanks. Stay hydrated too.